Oh, shall I start? Oh, very good. Welcome to my birthday party, everyone. Oops, sorry, wrong script. Welcome, everyone. I'm Daniel Doody. I'll be your host for the inaugural All of Us, the Power of Community event here at Western Sydney Local Health District, which also marks the commencement of Human Experience Week. Now, Human Experience Week was previously known as Patient Experience Week. The change reflects the renewed focus on the human-centred nature of healthcare. This morning, we're about to experience a powerful series of guest performances and conversations underpinned by key themes of multiculturalism and the impact of healthcare on the stolen generation. But to start things off, I would like to invite Erin Wilkins on stage, traditional custodian, to provide the official welcome to country.
Thank you. Warami, Budri Millennial, Budri Najabunya, Darag Narawa, Naya Giara Erin, Jinbo, Darag Narawa. So welcome, good morning. It's good to see you all on Darug country. My name is Erin, and I'm a strong and proud Aboriginal woman from the Darug Nation. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respects to my ancestors in whose footsteps I follow, to my elders who walk beside me, and to the children, our patients, our families and our friends who will then follow in the footsteps that we leave behind. I'd also like to acknowledge and pay respect to all of you and to your ancestors also. It's important when we're accepting and we're acknowledging everybody's ancestors, no matter where we come from, no matter if we know where we come from, our ancestors and their journeys are an important part of who we are and where we are today. The Darug lands embraces the lands, seas, skies and waterways of the Blue Mountains in the west through to the Sydney coastline in the east, from the Hawkesbury in the north and to Appin and the Georges River in the south. We are both freshwater and saltwater people. We are both mountains and plains people. As an ancient Aboriginal protocol, welcome to country is a process or a very ancient process of journeying across lands that are not our own. As we're walking through other people's countries, we will stop at the boundaries, we'll light a fire, and the smoke from our fire is us knocking on their front door. A welcome to country is part of a mutual agreement between two parties. The visitors, we ask that you follow our laws, respect our people and our lands, and in return, we promise to keep you safe and we help you with your journey across our lands. So today, welcome. Today, I've only just sort of worked out why I'm here, sorry, but the Human Experience Week. I think when we're looking at patient care and how we treat not just our patients but the families of those patients is extremely important, especially to Colden, to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. So not only do we have a history of institutionalism where our people weren't allowed to come into hospitals, we now have that fear that we're walking into a very sterile, very institutional environment. So sometimes bringing our families or bringing our people into the hospitals is a hard journey on itself, let alone what they experience while they're in your care. And I think understanding the sensitivities and the protocols that we treat our patients and their families, but the appropriateness on how we hold their beliefs and their systems as well. So I know that as a young Aboriginal mum, I was not inside Western Sydney Health District, luckily, but I had massive experiences that kind of rippled through the fact that a young Aboriginal mother having a child while she was a child, I was looked down on, I was treated very, very differently, and I didn't want to be there. And then I kind of had another couple of children. And then when I was in Nepean, I actually had one of the most helpful and progressive experiences while I was there. My son was born at 27 weeks. So I was living at the hospital from 19 weeks when my waters broke. And I think the experiences that I had then changed my mindset on healthcare. Not only was I looked down on at other hospitals, but I was given that sense of pride and self-worth. And I wasn't treated just like a young mum again, I was treated like another person. And I think when I had certain male doctors coming in and my refusal for them to walk into my room, I think that changed a lot with the nursing on that ward. And that whole experience for the next 3 months that I lived at the hospital changed how I saw healthcare and the institutionalism of healthcare. Although the experience may have been a roller coaster for me through my care, we need to understand that Aboriginal people still look at healthcare systems with a fog. Not only does it have our own experiences and our own memories, but it also has the memories of our ancestors and their treatment here as well. And I think kind of taking that step back and understanding that what we feel may not be our own experience, but the experience of our families, needs to be thought about while we're treating our patients and their families that walk through our centres. So while I say that, I'm now going to welcome you into country and language. Waramai dai dargnurwa bamubara yurian nangabayana laimuli narju bayala guru guru go bangalibe bonogo nurugo yurugo dijurigo. Who wants a guy saying that? Bit of a mouth twister, isn't it? So welcome. This is direct lands. These are the lands and the waterways of my people. I ask that as we walk softly, and as the winds blow, listen to the stories of our people. I ask that we honour and pay respects to the lands, to the people, and to our laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Erin, for that wonderful welcome to country. Now, to kick things off, I'd like to welcome on stage. Now, this next guest, he's a little bit tender at the moment because St George Illawarra lost on the weekend against Bulldogs. Okay, Graham Loy, Chief Executive of Western Sydney Local Health District, and following that, Susan Pearce, Secretary of New South Wales Health. Please welcome Graham. Sorry, I had to mention that, Graham.
No problems at all. Okay. I'm not that tender, I'm quite used to the Dragons losing. So. Alrighty, good morning everyone. Can I commence by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet? We are on the lands of the Barragmatic people of the Darug Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and everyone who's with us here today. Thank you for that wonderful welcome as well. It was very, very nice. Thank you very much. It's an honour to be here in Western Sydney today, opening Human Experience Week on behalf of the Ministry of Health and New South Wales Health. It is such a fabulous time and such a critical event for us to have. Human experience has a different meaning in a lot of ways to a lot of people. For me, it's very close to home. The last sort of 4 months I've spent with my mother in and out of hospital with hip fractures and falls and medication errors and all those things that we all experience. And at the same time, I've had my daughter-in-law have a beautiful little grandson out at Parks and Forbes, and that was the most amazing experience that you could ever go through. And for those of you who've been that, it's even better than being parents, I've got to tell you, because you can hand back and you get all the fun stuff. So the human experience is a really critical part of it, and it really brought it home to me thinking about this over the last weekend around what does it mean. So, it really is at the centre of everything that we do. The term recognises that human experience is supported and sustained by the fundamental principle of partnership, and is inclusive of all the experiences that deliver care as well as those who support the care and who support our patients. Consumers, clinicians, carers, everyone in the family, that extended family are all part of what human experience is, as are our staff, as are the people that work and come and visit our organisations and help and support us to create that experience for everyone. The theme for this year's Human Experience Week is All of Us, the Power of Community, and for the importance of love, belonging and healing in elevating human experiences, and the really key components of how to deliver a high quality experience. This morning's session is underpinned by the impact of healthcare on the stolen generation and multiculturalism, and that's really important to us in Western Sydney. We have the largest urban Aboriginal and First Nations population in New South Wales. We have a really strong cultural overlay of what we do, and we really feel that sense of responsibility in providing the care and working really closely with our First Nations communities. So it's really critical for us that we have a really strong focus on it. It's really significant, and it does drive the way that we structure and deliver healthcare, and we're trying to think differently and be really unique in how we do that. Today we also have Sandy Greenwood. And Sandy is an actress and director, and Sandy will be performing elements of Matriarch, and I wanted to personally welcome Sandy. Her mother is part of the stolen generation, and her production reflects hauntingly on the impact of intergenerational trauma, something that we as a district need to keep front in mind of our pursuit in closing the gap. We also have a group of refugee women who co-designed the theatre production with mental health services called Rich Cultures Should Have Rich Relationships. I'd like to welcome you and your organisation and for your contribution to the Human Experience Week. We have consumers, carers and clinicians here looking to tell their story and share with us what human experience means to them. With that, I might leave it at that because I could rabbit on all day, as most of you would know, but I won't. I'd like to declare Human Experience Week officially open and hand over to Susan Pearce. Susan is the Secretary for New South Wales Health, as you all know, and an amazing leader and someone that I take great pride in saying that I work with very closely and have spent quite a few years having that experience, and she is an amazing leader, and I'm really proud to be part of a system that she leads. Unfortunately, Susan can't join us today, but has shared her welcome via video.
My name is Susan Pearce, and I'm the Secretary of New South Wales Health. It is my absolute honour to join you today, albeit virtually, to welcome you to Human Experience Week. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the Camaragal and Darug peoples from the Great Eora Nation as the traditional owners of the lands we're meeting on today. These lands were never ceded, always were, and will be Aboriginal land. Today marks the launch of Human Experience Week. New South Wales Health has a long and proud history recognising and celebrating the phenomenal work that happens across our health system to elevate the experiences of our staff, our patients, their families and carers. This year, we have listened carefully to your voices and made a change from celebrating Patient Experience Week to Human Experience Week. When we talk about human experience, we're talking about the experiences of those receiving and delivering care, as well as everyone who supports them. New South Wales Health is a great big family, and it's never been more important to recognise that the experiences people have and the way they feel is just as important as those clinical outcomes and other things we measure. Last year, we released our health strategy for the future. And over the next 10 years, we're dedicated to ensuring that patients and carers have positive experiences and outcomes that matter, and that our staff are engaged and well supported. As part of our celebrations this week, I'm thrilled to announce we're expanding the delivery of Schwartz rounds, a staff wellbeing program across the state. We'll also be sharing, all of us, a guide for our system to engage consumers, carers and communities. This guide recognises that the voices of our consumers, carers and communities is essential in not only the delivery of care at the bedside, but integral in the delivery of care across the system. As Graham has mentioned to you earlier today, in Western Sydney there is a large Aboriginal population. It's a really important part of Experience Week that we celebrate the culture and everything that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people bring to the communities right across New South Wales, including here in Western Sydney. You may be aware that last year I delivered an apology on behalf of New South Wales Health to the stolen generations. For me as a secretary, it was a moment that I will always remember. Something that is so important to all of us across the health system, to apologise to stolen generations about the impact of former government policies on them, their families and their loved ones. There are great celebrations happening throughout Experience Week where we take the opportunity to really celebrate and enjoy our Aboriginal community. In addition to that, I understand there'll be some special guests here this afternoon. And I must say, as a Swannies fan, I am very envious that you'll get to meet the great Mickey O'Loughlin, a former Swans player and someone who every Swans fan has celebrated over many years. That's not the only reason that I'm disappointed not to be with you in person today, because many of you would know that experience is something that has been personally very important to me over many, many years, and even more so now as a Secretary of the New South Wales Health System. Please join the remaining celebrations across the state during this week, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do every single day to elevate the experiences of humans receiving and delivering care across New South Wales. I'd now like to hand over to Anne-Marie Hadley, the New South Wales Health Chief Experience Officer, who will introduce all of us, a guide to engaging consumers, carers and communities in New South Wales.
Hi, so I'm Anne-Marie, and it's lovely to be with you today. Susan did speak about meeting the great Mickey O'Loughlin. I think I would have preferred if he was playing on Saturday when we got beaten with 60 seconds to go by GWS. Yeah, it was pretty traumatic. It's an absolute privilege to be with you on day one of Human Experience Week. My sincere thanks to Graham and Peter, Belinda, Alicia, Lisa and your wonderful teams for putting on such an amazing launch event. And it's fantastic to have so many of you here in the audience today, and also live streaming from across the state. As Susan has mentioned, she's really disappointed that she can't be with us today. As you may know, Stephen, the young paramedic who was tragically killed a couple of weeks ago, his funeral's today. So Susan's travelled to Wollongong with the Minister to be with Stephen's family today. Susan also mentioned that we've renamed Patient Experience Week to Human Experience Week, and that really is in recognition of the inextricable link that there is between the patient and the staff experience. We work really hard to provide exceptional experiences to our patients and families, but if our staff are not feeling that they're having a great experience, it's nearly almost impossible to continue to build that. So that's that sort of intersection between the patient and the staff experience, which is the human experience. So it's really a time to celebrate our amazing workforce who every day turn up and make, as Ken Schwartz said, the unbearable bearable, and whose small acts of kindness provide light and hope to those who are suffering. The theme of this year is All of Us, the Power of Community, and the themes of love, belonging and healing. And love and belonging describes the human need for social connection, and I think we really all felt that, particularly over the last couple of years. But love and belonging is built on a foundation of safety. When we are free from the fear of harm or judgment, we can connect with people with compassion and kindness. And love and belonging also creates the relationships with people that allow us to feel grateful and valued, and the experience of esteem. We begin I've got my beautiful team here today, and we begin many of our human experience sessions by asking people to pull out their mobile phones, not because we're boring, but we ask them to go and find a photo of people that they love. This seemingly simple activity really grounds us in what's actually important. And we say to them, who are patients? Well, patients are you, patients are me, patients are the people on their camera roll, their mums, their partners, their children, their grandparents, their best friends, their little grandchildren, their roommates, and sometimes even their pets. Then we ask, what would you expect if that loved one was a patient? Surprise, surprise, the answers are always the same. Kindness, empathy, communication, quality care, compassion, to feel seen and heard, the family to be involved in their care, patience and safety. Taking this time for teams to reflect and connect back to their professional why is more impactful than any PowerPoint or one-pager. So during Patient Experience Week in 2021, we launched Elevating the Human Experience, our guide to action. Despite a pandemic and other natural disasters, hundreds of staff and consumers came together to identify what we needed to do as a system to create not just a very good experience, but an exceptional experience for our consumers and our staff. And so, using the expertise of those who are delivering and receiving the care, we identified 7 priority projects, a combination of new and innovative projects, which included co-design of the first statewide guide for engaging consumers, carers and families across New South Wales, which we are calling All of Us. I didn't have it as part of my notes, but also on last Friday, I'm really pleased to announce that the first statewide guide for remuneration of consumers and reimbursement of consumers was published. That's a huge step forward, and so for a state to not only just say we value consumers, but that no consumer will ever be out of pocket to contribute to providing their expert lived experience is a major, major step forward. So thank you to everyone here. I know there was a lot of people in this audience who have contributed to this groundbreaking guideline, which was published on Friday. All of Us supports a culture shift in considering consumers as users and choosers to makers and shapers by ensuring that engagement is authentic and meaningful and becomes our business as usual. So I'm thrilled today to give you a sneak peek of this new guide. One of the real joys has been the extraordinary people who have partnered with many of us, and many of you, as I said, who are here today. I'd like to personally thank over 200 consumers, carers and staff who contributed to the advisory group, the design crew and those who tested it. It's now my great pleasure to introduce you to Kellyanne, or KA, from Beyond Sticky Notes, an extraordinarily talented human being who, along with Sue and Megan and Lucy and the experienced team at the Ministry, have led the development of All of Us. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to everyone online who is supporting Human Experience Week. As Susan said, thank you for what you do every single day. You are the human experience. Thank you.
Gosh, it's a hard act to follow someone so sparkly, but here I am. So, good morning. Here we are on Darug country, land that has always been and will always be Aboriginal land. As A mentioned, my name's KA, I use them, they pronouns, and I come from an organisation called Beyond Sticky Notes. I'm bringing with me many folks, my wonderful colleagues, the design crew, the advisory group, many others who wanted to be in this room but couldn't be in this room today. I'm here to share just a little bit about what All of Us is, how we might use it, and to really encourage you to explore it and see what value you might find. But as this was both a co-design process and a broader consultation process, I felt like it was appropriate that we first heard from some of the people who joined us in this work, not just from me. So I want to show you a really short video of a few folks from the design crew. The design crew was one of the groups that we worked with, and the group that really worked the most closely on this framework, a group of consumers and carers and staff from all across New South Wales who have really guided us through developing and delivering this guide.
So being able to really respect the knowledge and the lived experience of consumers and recognising that people from various cultural backgrounds have different values, beliefs and perspectives that need to be taken into consideration when we're working with consumers. Being a part of the design crew as a First Nations woman, I really appreciated the opportunity, and we had other First Nations representatives as well in the group, and we really appreciated the opportunity to be able to provide input and guidance from that cultural perspective as Aboriginal people, and then also that being able to be then filtered through to our staff to ensure that we are being inclusive in that space, particularly when we think about historically Aboriginal voices haven't been included in a lot of design and development, and it was really appreciated that we could bring that cultural lens and provide that input, and the facilitators and the group were really keen and interested in hearing those perspectives and including that as well.
But it felt like we were all in the room, we were all part of the process. The power was balanced, and no one was better than anyone else, no one was in charge of anything. It felt like a true collaboration of everybody being heard, everybody being included, and everybody having a say, which is just amazing. If you make a carer feel valued through genuine engagement, they will move mountains for you. But if you are just trying to tick a box by having carer involvement, most carers will see through that pretty quickly. So it's not just enough to have carers in the room, but I think this is why this framework is so particularly important, because it is a step-by-step guide on not only how to best engage carers, but how to do it well.
Thank you, Jenny and Jess, particularly if you're watching from your homes. So we have to say thanks, of course, to the many people whose fingerprints are on this framework. I know some of you also have your fingerprints on this or have contributed in some way, particularly to the design crew, the advisory group, the folks who helped us to test it, to our colleague Lucy Clippen, who did these beautiful illustrations that you'll see, to our colleague Sue, and to everyone who has given their voice in the videos as part of the framework. So made by many, many people and for many, all of us is really about respectful engagement. And it is first and foremost for staff, to equip us as staff members, to engage consumers, carers and communities across projects, across research, across events and also committees. But it is also for those of us who are reaching out to hire external facilitators to come in and work alongside communities, to come in and give us teaching or training about community involvement. But we also made it publicly and openly so it could be for consumers as well, so that you might know what to expect, what to ask for and maybe even what to demand. So it is for all of us. All of us has two main things. It is 6 ways of working that we call core ingredients, because just like a recipe, there's some stuff you just got to have in there. You got to have safety and access and honesty, sharing power and offering recognition. That stuff's got to be in there, but based on our specific identities and communities, we might bring extra stuff into that as well. We provide detailed guidance, we give videos of consumers, carers and staff talking about what this means to them, because there's not just one meaning of any of these things. And we provide some activities and tools for facilitators, for meeting chairs, like the role, not the furniture, and also for hosts to put all of this stuff into action, particularly if we're new to engagement or we've been engaging in the same way for a long time. And this is for lots of things. This guidance applies to lots of things. But it doesn't apply to engaging patients in their own care. That's really important, but that's not what All of Us is about. All of Us is about these things. It is about how we get into committees and groups, how we do co-design and co-production, service design, redevelopments or the change in facilities, quality, safety, governance and leadership. And it's two things. It's a public-facing website, not an intranet, that is something that can be and will be able to be accessed by anyone, by all of us. You can see a screenshot of it here, and this is where you'll also find videos and tools. We know that some of us like a document, so there is a document, a very short document, it's just 20 pages, which is a summary of what this is, where it came from, and how you might use it. So All of Us doesn't replace local frameworks. We know we've all got them, or most of us have got them, but it does aim to build on them and maybe even challenge them in some places. It also doesn't provide guidance on how to engage in a culturally specific way or identity specific way. We know that folks who are part of those groups will bring their extra knowledge to the framework. It's not our place to do that. It's not about why we should engage with consumers. That information's been around for a long time. It matters. It's not about how to deliver services at the bedside, and it's not specifically about co-design or co-production, because those things take a lot more explanation. But we do ask you a number of times that if you're not doing co-design, don't say that you do. So finally, we thought we might just show you, give you a bit of a sneak peek into the website. This is something that will be found on the New South Wales Health website. And you can see here that we have the opportunity to see videos, to read the overview, and to seek detailed guidance on each of the core ingredients. What you will also find is hopefully your questions answered. Like, how did we make this? And how does it connect to this thing and this thing and this other framework? How we made it, what it applies to, and the specific words that we use. As I say, much of the guidance is around these 6 ways of working or core ingredients. And alongside our design crew, the advisory group, and testing with many of you, we provide some really detailed guidance on these things. You will find in each of the core ingredients what is meant, what happens when we don't have it, what to expect from a consumer, carer, community perspective, what facilitators can do. You might not call yourself that, but you probably are that if you're running meetings and forums and projects. What just isn't okay, some resources to support you, and much of the references that we've built on. This is an example. I'm not going to read this to you. I trust that you might explore this in your own time, of the page that's around the core ingredient of creating and maintaining safety. So we hope that there are some words and tools and ideas that you might find here. This is also the place where you'll find some beautiful videos of consumers, carers and communities talking about what this means to them. Not because we can say what matters or means to all of us, but because it might give us a starting point to see how these things are experienced and felt differently, particularly based on our identities and our experiences. You will also find some tools that we have co-developed with many carers, consumers and communities to put this into action. And we have designed them in a way that they can be collaborative tools. Because if we don't tell consumers, carers and communities what we're doing and what questions need to be asked and answered, they can't help us do that, and we can't do that together. So you'll find tools around planning. You'll find tools around ensuring that access and inclusion is a thing, that we do our homework, that we put things in place, and we ask people what they need to be included. You'll find a checklist. I know this seems very exciting, but the checklist really is the place in which we can come back to and say, are we in fact doing this? Are we in fact putting these core ingredients in place? We know sometimes we get busy and it's easy to forget some of the things that we need to do to make sure there is the most access and inclusion possible. And finally, we offer some suggestions based on what carers, consumers and staff told us in the making of all of us, of how you might use it to build on what's strong, not just what's wrong, to welcome people into projects and groups, to do a little bit of a reflection on what are we doing, what are we not, and how might we do our work always a little bit better than before. So consumers, carers and staff have worked really hard on this. There's been a huge investment in time. Many of you are in the room who has helped with this. So we ask you, even though some of the stuff might feel challenging to some current practices you might use, maybe not, maybe it does, that you at least give to the people who ran this process your curiosity and having a look at this tool and seeing where and how it might be useful, and telling us also if it's not. So please join us this afternoon. We are running a workshop where we'll look in more detail at this stuff. We'll watch some videos together and we'll have some important conversations. And this is just the start, hey? Finally, I'll leave this QR code up on the projector here, which is getting straight to your inbox, a notification of exactly when the website is live and available. It is built, we just need to turn it on and make it public. So thank you for listening. Thank you to everyone who's helped to create all of us and will no doubt help to sustain it and grow it into the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you've got your giant iPhone, you can just use the QR code just there. Very important. How's everyone feeling so far? You all good? Now I've got 15 to 20 seconds to ad-lib here, so I've got a joke for you all. Never lie to an X-ray technician. They can see right through you. Thank you. That's a dad joke there. Keep going. Wonderful. Yeah, I'll keep going. I used to get heartburn when I ate birthday cake until a doctor advised me to take the candles off first. I'm here all week. Thank you very much. Very good. We're still, yes, wonderful. Still working at microphone, so on behalf of everyone here, I'll do some stretches because it's been quite a morning, hasn't it? Just doing some stretches on behalf of everyone, just making sure that everyone's full of energy. And you are absolutely right. And look at you, you're sparkling there with that sparkly jacket. I should have worn my sparkly jacket as well. I love it. Sparkly jacket, checkered jacket there. It's all very good. Wonderful. Yes, right. So, what an exciting way to kick off Human Experience Week. Next up, I'd like to invite Sandy Greenwood on stage, a proud and passionate First Nations actor, writer and producer. Today she'll be using drama, dance and music in Matriarch to explore cultural identity and the effects of intergenerational trauma. Matriarch showed across Australia, including at the Melbourne Fringe Festival, where it was a Green Room Award winner. Sandy has appeared on stage for the country's top theatre companies, including the Sydney and Queensland Theatre Company, and is currently performing at the Belvoir. She has worked internationally with the Seattle Theatre Company and worked across film and television alongside stars such as Robert De Niro and Jason Statham and Studio 10's Daniel Doody. Please welcome on stage Sandy.
This story is about 4 generations of Gumbaynggirr women. It is about my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and me. Well, who am I? I'm a Gumbaynggirr, Dunghutti, Bundjalung and Burr woman on my mother's side, and I'm Welsh and English on my father's side. For many years I felt uncomfortable with my white heritage because I associated it with the pain, the violence and the oppression of my people, our culture, our dreaming. Growing up black, but looking white, confusing at the best of times. And for years I struggled to reconcile both my black and white heritage. But I always knew who I was. A strong woman from a long line of matriarchs. I am my mother. I am my grandmother. I am my great-grandmother. And we were saltwater women who have sung and danced and birthed life here on country since creation time. Our songlines and our bloodlines are as sacred as they are old. And it is here, at Corindi Creek, on Gumbaynggirr country, where my matriarch stories will now unfold. Corindi Creek was once a hidden place from the white man, where mob could speak language and lingo and practice cultural ways and protect the children from being taken away. For my great-grandmother and my grandmother, Gran and Nan, raising 14 kids, well, this was a place where they could be happy and safe and free. A place where they could just be for a time. My name's Elizabeth Taylor. They call me the Black Elizabeth Taylor. But unlike my namesake, I don't like getting my picture taken, as you can tell from this photo. Well, I was born in Ireland over there in Baga Baga. Very special place for all us Gumbaynggirr people. Well, I'm a midwife, cultural way, you know. Aborigines, we're not allowed in hospitals, you see. So I deliver the Gurri babies all over this valley. And I'm proud to say I delivered some of my own grandchildren too. Well, my father, he's Arthur Taylor. He's a senior Gumbaynggirr lawman. And he brought us kids here to Corindi when I was just a little baby, you know. That's the way I grew up. I married Joey Jarrett and we got 2 children. We moved around the valley a bit, but we always came back here to Corindi. You know, this is home. There's a lot more camps back in them old days, huh? Yeah, we even had our own band, you know. We had Uncle Clary Skin on a clarinet, Podge on the accordion, Dad with the lemon leaf. Oh, you couldn't get that lemon leaf off him. And us kids, we'd just be tapping and bashing with whatever was around. Yeah, they were good days then. Our old people are still here, you see. Yeah, when I sit quietly, I can feel them all around me. You see, when we pass over, our spirit, it stays here on country. In the water, and the trees, the land and the seas. For us Kumbanga people, this is home. And always has been. Now all I want to do is take my grandchildren proper way and keep them safe. Billy Jack, Philip, don't go too far up that creek. I'm watching you. Come here, Faye. Come and help Gran stomp on these clouds. Hey? That's it. That's it. Ara. Hey, Ara. No, but I'm stomped too hard. You get them all dirty again. Hey, Rod, somebody in the fridge up there? Yeah, moving around. That's it. Hold it, hold it. Pick him up. Hey, Philip, help him. That's it, help him, pick him up. That's it, good boys. Let's bring it out to the riverbank, let's see what you've got, eh? Huh? Mullet? Ooh, we'll be having mullet for feed tonight then. Yes, baby, that's where you were born. Right by the rose bush I delivered you. Hey, Rod, you'll never forget the day you were born. Your mother was right here doing the washing when she called out to me then. There's baby coming, she said. Oh, been come quick then. Carried over the old gums there, see? Eventually you show your little black face. Then what'd your mother do? Hey? What did your mother do? She come right back here an hour later to finish the washing. 14 of yous, eh? Lucky Gran's still around. A lot of work. A lot of washing. I have to admit, Sandy, you're my first Indigenous client. Well, there's been some good research done around intergenerational and transgenerational trauma, but I know we have a long way to go. How about we start with you telling me what happened and how it's affected your family? At close range, impending separation. The government car coming, closer and closer, tearing up that dirt track. Etty, constables, get the kids, hurry! Kids running as fast as their little legs can carry them. Quick, run, go! Up them trees, go, Roger, go! 14 little hearts pounding, 14 little chests heaving, catching breath. 14 children not fast enough. Quick, go! Get up them trees, go! Get up there! Government in control now. Old ways don't count. No rights. Mrs. Jarrett, it's for their own good. We take good care of our kids, officer. Me and my mum. We got no problems here. They're all at school, washed, fed and clothed. It's the law, skirmishes, Jarrett. If you refuse to cooperate, we can make sure you never see your kids again. Come on, kids. You've got to get down from them trees. No, you have to. Come on. No, it's all right. Come on, get down. It's going to be all right. Come on, Rog, get down. That's it. No, let go of my leg, Bubba. No, it's all right. You jump in the car. I'm going to find you. It's going to be all right, okay? It's going to be all right, okay? Us kids thrown in the back. We're trying to get out, but it's locked. Mum and Gran, why don't they come with us? Scary gubbers. Where they taking us? Where they taking us? Sit down. Be quiet. Don't move. Us kids holding on to each other for dear life. Nothing feels right. First stop, the courthouse. Here we have 14 neglected, underfed, half-caste kids. Official wards of state, state-owned, siblings separated, connections torn. Kinchula Boys Home for the young boys. Westmead Catholic Boys Home for the older boys. St Joseph Cowper Orphanage for the girls. And domestic work in Sydney for the 14-year-old. The next stop, the big scary hospital. They line us all up, checking for worms and lice. Poison ran down our throats. Oh, I never felt more sick in all my life. And then my hair, my beautiful long hair down to my bum, and Mummy brushed every day. Now cut short on the floor. My head shaved. And then we arrive at our new home, which doesn't feel like home at all. Excuse me, officer. Good morning, Sergeant. Yeah, excuse me, officer. I'm trying to find out where my children are. Last Tuesday they were taken. 14, 9 boys and 5 girls. Yeah, I need to see them. But officer, they're my children. Some of them are only babies. I'm still nursing. Please, officer. Please. I need to see them and tell them it's going to be okay. Please. 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 This Glory girl was stolen that day. The gubber lawman came and took me away. Now I'm scared, only 9 years old, in this big old place, so dark, so cold. Be quiet! Stop talking! Only the language in here. You're all God's children now. Do I make myself clear? All of a sudden my life disappeared. Now I lie awake at night so full of fear. No one and no reason, just don't understand. Where's my willy wagtail? My mummy, my grand. Lauren, you bold, brazen little hussy. Do your chores, just say your prayers, or feel the wrath of my cane. God watches you all. He wants you to be saved. Look, it's for your own good. So all of you, behave. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, hallowed be thy name. Where am I?
Today. Oh, Willy Wagtail! Hey! Where you going? Ah, bush lollies. Yucky.
Fishy or dead. I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know where I am anymore. I haven't seen my kids in almost a year now. No matter how hard I try, no one tells me nothing. Could be anywhere, you know. Oh, Gran. Yeah, she left Corindy. She moved into town. She stays inside all day. It's the saddest I ever seen her. Like she got no meaning in her life anymore, you know. Neither do I. All I do is sit here and drink. Talk to old people, keeping me sane. I'm never going to give up looking for him now. My babies need their mother and their grandmother. I know they'll come home. Country gonna call them home. Mum was right. country did call us home. I never got a cuddle from them nuns in 9 long years. I was 17 when I saw my family again. My big brother Philip, he came looking for me. Somehow he found me at the orphanage then. Remember, he took me out for a milkshake. Vanilla. I'm feeling so happy to finally have my big brother back. He took me to go see Mum then. I was so scared and nervous on that long drive out there to see her, I'll tell you. Yeah. But Mum was, she was just living like she always did. Oh, fuel stove, fishing traps and nets everywhere. But I was a proper little white girl by then. Yeah, the nuns had done a good job at that. Here I was asking to be excused from the table, feeling very out of place. Oh, poor Mum. She remembered her cheeky little bush kid that fed her face full of juligas. All 14 of us made it home, surprisingly. I was the last. Oh, my poor brothers, though. They copped it terrible by those priests. I remember going to see Gran, too. She was living in Grafton by then, by the Clarence River. I knocked on the door. She opened it, and she just took that one look at me. She knew who it was. And she gave me the biggest, longest hug. Oh. I felt like a little girl again, you know? Getting the big, long cuddles from Gran. I was home. Yeah, this is it, Sonny. Corindy Creek. The creek that was ours as kids before we got taken. No one used to come here. It was all ours and we loved it. Especially me. Yeah, I'd stay out all night, all day. And they'd rouse me for staying out too late. Tell me to work, you're gonna get me. Would never stop me. I just loved it here so much. Well, all my best mates were here. Willie Wagtail, Gargum, the Kookaburra, my best mate, the blue-tongued lizard. We never went without. No, we didn't have to. We had everything we needed then. It was our paradise. Poor old creek. Doesn't look too good these days. This Guri girl is home on sacred land. Back to her mothers, matriarchs of 3 powerful clans. this saltwater country, making me feel strong again. I cover my body in ochre and clay. I walk along our dreaming tracks and sit content in our birthing caves. I just want to sit here all day. I don't want to carry this grief anymore, Gran. Can you take it from me? I'd have been weighed down by this trauma, Mum. Just draw it out of me. I want to hold on to this anger, Nan. Just pull it out of me! Oh. My totem, the Rosella, sitting there in the trees. And I hear Nan and Gran's voices whisper through the wind and the leaves. You're home now, my grandchild. You're home now, my girl. You're home. Yeah, I'm home.
Sandy Greenwood, everyone. Thank you so much, Sandy. That was an incredible and powerful performance. Thank you so much. So we do have a few people on the side there. If you'd like to come up and take a seat, there's plenty of seats here. By all means, come on down. And in the meantime, we're going to be setting up the stage over here. And then we'll announce our other guests. I forgot to mention that if you feel comfortable in wearing a mask, by all means you can do, but it's not compulsory in this space. But if you do feel comfortable in wearing a mask, that is not a problem at all.
Okay, yeah, I'll take it off.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I'd like to welcome back Sandy back on stage. Sandy, if you're listening there, she's probably grabbing a glass of water. And Belinda Cashman, Director of Aboriginal Health, up to talk about the impact of healthcare on the stolen generation and intergenerational trauma. So, well, yeah, give them a round of applause. Of course. And we'll invite Sandy back on as well. I thought we'll have this set up. We can treat it like a morning show, yeah? What should we call it? The Western Sydney Local Health District Morning Show. I think that works, yeah? I think that works well. Sandy, how are you going over there? Hello, if you're looking at us via live stream as well. Hello, hopefully you're still with us. It's been a fantastic morning, and we'll just wait till Sandy's free. But I think in the meantime, we'll go straight with you, Belinda. Sure. What made you choose healthcare as a space to work in?
Honestly, 20 years ago, I was an ALO at a different hospital. And health is the basis of everything that we do. and I could see at the time I didn't really know a lot about it. And as I started working in progression through the healthcare system, I started to realise just the impacts that hospitals played in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health, and how detrimental it was to us as a people to provide a extremely positive healthcare system. And that was 20 years ago. And then I actually worked as a health education officer. After the ALO role, I did a state-based position for 12 months where I travelled across the state of New South Wales. And unfortunately, it didn't matter whether you were in an urban setting or a country, remote, rural area, the impacts were all the same, they were just different. You know, there's a saying that we used to laugh about in the culture where we'd go, oh, you know, the country people would say, oh, you fellas down in, you know, the city, yous get everything. And we were like, no, yous get everything. Because there was always this toing and froing about what we got in the healthcare system, but really we got nothing. And in retrospect, when I came back to Western Sydney 5 years ago as the manager for Aboriginal Health, you know, we're still facing the same problems that we did 20 years ago. It's just a different conversation with different words on a different lens.
Belinda, your mother was stolen, and part of this. What kind of impact would you say that had on you and your community back then?
So growing up, we didn't know very much about it, and that's probably because Mum just always knew she was adopted, but she never knew who her family was and where she was from. And it wasn't at that time when she found her mum, she didn't know that it was her dad who was Aboriginal. And so they said to her when they found her mother, would you like to meet your dad? And my mum said, oh my God, is he alive? And they said yes. And it was just huge. Like, I just can't even begin. I was so proud. At 16, I was 16 years old, and I was so proud to belong to this culture that's the oldest living culture in the world. At that stage, we didn't know. Prior to Mum finding her dad, we didn't know. But, you know, the impacts that has on raising your own children, Mum's emotional and social health herself, and the impacts of that. The healthcare, I couldn't say what my bloodline was, you know, on hereditary. So if I presented to the doctor as I got older, I didn't know I had, you know, there was breast cancer or anything in my family. And the interesting thing is that you don't start to piece those things together until you grow up. And the importance of knowing who you are and looking like somebody. So Mum was removed, but my mother also adopted out my sister. And so we had 2 generations of adoptions. And I can remember the first time that they ever met each other, and my sister and my mum stopped dead in track, and my sister turned around and said exactly what my mum said when she met her brothers and sisters, and that's like, for the first time ever, I look like somebody. And for me, that was huge, because I've looked like somebody my whole life, and that's a privilege that I took for granted. My children have looked like they know who they are and where they're from, and I couldn't imagine not knowing that. So it's played a huge impact on who I am as a person, personally and also professionally. And you know, sometimes there's just no words to explain that.
How do we go about closing the gap, and what needs to happen in Australia to fast track us to a more equitable space in relation to healthcare?
I think that it's a hard one, closing the gap. Sometimes, you know, the government's changed it so much. There's now, you know, 17 different topics that all interlink with each other. I think that for us here at Western Sydney, we're doing things like we have a draft maternity model of care that we're looking at to give women options. We're trying to hear what Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have to say in our communities to close those gaps that currently exist. We've got advisory committees that we're setting up on a consumer level and also at an NGO level. We've got our staff network meetings. We have got a variety of other programs that we offer throughout the LHD in working together to close the gap, because it's not something that I believe that we can do on our own, and our system is too big, and it's a system that we constantly navigate, and it's a system that we constantly work through. So it's only through partnerships that I believe that we're going to be able to achieve that.
Well said. Let's get into politics. We all love politics, don't we? Okay. Look, we are also coming up to a referendum here around the Aboriginal voice to Parliament, which will have, as you know, an emotional and mental impact for Aboriginal people. How can they look after themselves? That's a very important question.
It's a hugely important question. I think have that conversation with people. There's a lot of access around at the moment. If people are unsure about where to go or if this is bringing up things for people, we've got the Aboriginal Health Hub. Talk to some colleagues, talk to your Aboriginal constituents that you work with. There's a lot of information out there at the moment, but really we're here for everybody. Not that we want just everybody to flock to Western Sydney, but we do offer pathways and assistance for people if they are struggling with that.
And Sandy, she obviously had an incredible, powerful performance, so we'll let her relax and take it easy. Now, just to sum everything, and before we wrap it up, because we need to move it along, what do you love about your job?
Western Sydney 20 years ago was the lead for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander stuff. And for those, and there are a lot of Aboriginal people here today, for those who have been around for that, for me, that was a great thing for me to be a part of as a 20-year-old. I sit here today as a 51-year-old, and I just...
Did you say 51? You don't 51. Look a day over 20, girl.
Olay.
Sorry, carry on.
But I think that for me, I love the partnerships that we form. I love working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I love the commitment that Western Sydney has to changing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health. And I love all the people that I work with. It's a great place to work.
Belinda, I just want to give you a hug, and I will. Belinda Cashman, everyone. Thank you so much. And now we'll be heading to a commercial break. Anyway, so next I'll be chatting to Western Sydney Local Health District staff members and consumer representatives about the importance of empathetic care. I'd now like to invite consumer representatives Nagla and Anne and staff Faiza Wajahat to the stage. Oh, wonderful. It's wonderful. I think we'll keep this style. It's very casual, isn't it? Very relaxed. Ladies, take a seat. Nagla has been a Western Sydney Local Health District consumer representative since 2020 and is a member of the Western Sydney Local Health District Consumer Council, clinical counsel and advocate for co-designing a new palliative care ward at Auburn Hospital. She's also a proud grandmother for 5 and grandmother for 5 grandchildren. Nagla wants to try to make the future a better place for them and tries to teach her family to be respected. You have to give respect in return. Nagla is proud to have an Egyptian background and even prouder that she grew up in this wonderful country of Australia. I'll just pass this this mic over. There we go. Anne has been a WSLHD consumer representative for 8 years and became a consumer rep to constructively be part of building more empathetic care for patients, carers and families, and is passionate about people in the local health district having access to the best possible care. She was chair of the Western Sydney Local Health District Consumer Council for 4 years until January 23rd, and is a member of the District Palliative Care Governance Committee, Western Sydney Local Health District End of Life Committee and Westmead Hospital Consumer Partnership Committee. A dedicated consumer rep who is involved in many co-design initiatives. Dr. Faiza Wajahat is a physician by qualification with around 15 years of experience in healthcare management, establishing patient-centric, value-driven, outcome-focused systems in public health. She has partnered with a spectrum of health industries globally over the years to enhance patient experience, like spearheading the development of the patient experience model for the Middle East with the Mayo Clinic USA. She also specialises in setting up performances, management systems of complex, multifaceted healthcare organisations to achieve improved care provision by co-designing service models with patients and consumers. She is currently managing value-based healthcare across Western Sydney Local Health District and works closely with the Ministry of Health and its pillars along with the other internal and external stakeholders. And these ladies are strong. Give them a round of applause. How about that? What a bio, ladies. So,
can I just interrupt?
Yes.
You forgot to mention that I like AC/DC.
Oh! Yes, I love it.
I forgot that.
Missed it on the script there. Dearie me. Well, we'll start off with Anne. And what does empathetic care feel like?
It feels really good. It feels warm. It feels as if people are recognised, acknowledged, and that patients, carers and families are part of the care system. That I think someone else earlier said we're all in this together, and we absolutely are. It's not always about the big things. It can be the small moments, as I said, of acknowledgement, a smile, a touch on the arm, a recognition of the shared experience of maybe being in a waiting room. It's not necessarily going to change the outcome for someone. It's not necessarily going to get them into an X-ray or something more quickly, but it is that acknowledgement that even though there is a wait, there is that care there for people as well. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Faiza, how do you develop meaningful connections with patients? That's very important.
I think meaningful connections need to be developed with meaningful conversations, because until and unless you know somebody, you know how they are feeling, you cannot walk in their shoes. You cannot understand what fear and anxiety is doing to them. It definitely impacts their health outcomes. It impacts their adherence to certain medications and treatment regimens as well. Most importantly, we have to understand that the patients are at their most vulnerable when they're in hospital settings. No one walks into a hospital expecting miracles, but they walk into hospitals expecting kindness. And that is something that healthcare providers need to remind themselves every day. Yeah.
Well said. Nagla, how does connection impact on empathetic care?
Connection is very important from the first step, from the first point of contact when you walk into a medical facility or into a hospital. It's important to build trust and respect from both sides, and it's also very important to put yourself in the other person's shoes. We all have responsibilities and we have problems and we have worries, so it's also important for the patients and carers to also realise that those treating them are just human beings as well. So I think that's very important. I'll give you an example. My mum fell last year twice and she broke her hip twice. The first time was on the 15th of June and she had the operation on the 17th of June. She has a full hip replacement. Before she went into the operation, the nurse was just going through, confirming her details with me, and she goes, "And what's her date of birth?" And I said to her, "It's the 17th of June, which is today." And she goes, "Oh my goodness, what thing to do on your birthday." When Mum came out from the operation, we noticed that someone had written "Happy Birthday, best wishes" on her board. When Mum woke up and I pointed that out to her, she was so happy because we were afraid, we didn't know what to think. In those 2 days between when she fell and when she had the operation, her mental state was starting to worry us. We weren't sure whether she'll walk again or not. But it's just the simple gestures that make a lot of difference. They make connections with other people, and it's just important from carers' point of view, and it's also very important. Mum doesn't speak a lot of English, but she likes to be acknowledged. There's nothing worse than being at bedside and medical staff coming and talking to myself or my brother and just ignoring Mum. She feels as though that, you know, she's a piece of furniture. But to build a connection there, she takes what the doctor says, she trusts what is being said to her. So, and for us as well to realise that she's being treated as a human being is very important.
And it all comes down to kindness, and it seems like that medical staff and the team were going that extra mile above and beyond. Yes. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing your story. Nagla, Faiza and Anne, give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. And now for our AC/DC performance. No? Maybe after, later on. That's a great idea. All right, our next session is about building human connection and rapport through belonging, listening and kindness. I'd now like to invite Matt Janicki, hopefully I got the correct pronunciation, apologies if I didn't, Consumer Representative, Alicia Wood, Community and Consumer Partnerships Manager, and Dana Moad, a Strategic Partnerships and Programs Manager, and Angelo Barbaro, Allied Health Director, Drug and Health. Oh, do we need an extra chair? I think we do. Yeah, here we go. You can take mine. I will stand. And just an introduction, Matt is a Western Sydney Local Health District Consumer Representative and member of the Consumer Council and Consumer Partnerships Committee, and believes there is a huge opportunity for change in some of the most beneficial areas of healthcare. Matt has attended numerous co-design workshops, including the Digital Health Strategy, Reconciliation Action Plan, and What Matters to You days, and has a wealth of information, thoughts on how to get better results. Matt has a diploma in alcohol and other drugs and loves the opportunity to partner and improve experiences. Angelo has worked in the area of alcohol and other drugs for the past 15 years, is a clinical psychologist and is the facility director of Allied Health for Western Sydney Drug Health Services. Angelo is passionate about providing consumers a voice in the co-design of service improvements, improving the lives of people in Western Sydney impacted by addiction, and supporting clinicians to provide high-quality treatment services. Dana's background has been as both a clinician and senior manager with New South Wales Health. In her current partnership role, she is passionate about making improvements to the healthcare system system, and in particular the point at which consumers connect. Her interests include co-designing models of care, improving health literacy through research, and advising and influencing change in the areas where there is most impact on consumers. Alicia facilitates the WSLHD Consumer Council, is a Fellow of Patient-Centred Care and co-chair of the New South Wales Health Engagement Leaders Network. It's an honour and privilege for Alicia to partner and engage with people who have lived experience. Alicia values consumers and staff perspectives to co-design and improve human-centred care, consumer engagement, health literacy and equity in consumers' voice. It's not a job for Alicia, but her life's work, and she's also looking for more followers on Instagram. I'm kidding about that last pass. Give them a round of applause with their magnificent... Okay, and I'll leave it over to you all.
Thanks, Daniel, for such a warm welcome, and it's great to be here. So it is an honour and privilege to be here with Matt, Dana and Angelo. And Dana, I know how important health literacy is, especially for when we're developing and delivering models of care. And I'll start with you asking, why is collaboration and communication so important when we're delivering kindness-centric models of care?
So I think communication really is that point where we can connect and really focus on the patient and get an understanding of their perspective and their backgrounds. We've heard today that our local health district is very diverse in both, culturally and linguistically diverse communities, but also Aboriginal communities, and it's really important that we hear their voice. It starts with respect, acknowledging people's backgrounds, where they've come from, understanding the cultural norms and nuances in order to communicate well with those communities, understanding their needs and really getting input into any of the work and models, and services that we're designing for those communities. I think it's a missed opportunity if we're not able to do that. We've spent a lot of time here in Western Sydney putting together, engagement processes in our services, and I think doing that quite well. We're also establishing research around that, so we're able to prove that what we're doing is actually effective as well. New South Wales Health and Western Sydney provide a lot of opportunities for staff to engage in cultural competence training, to gain an awareness of health literacy and the impact that can have on people. And I really encourage staff to take up some of those programs. It really does make a difference when we connect with people through communication.
That's right, because we do know that sometimes health can be quite difficult to navigate, and so it's very much a partnership approach. And having that equity in the consumer voice, having lots of different consumers who engage with and feed back into the system. And Matt, a couple of weeks ago, you provided and delivered a really inspiring piece of education and training to some new grads, and they were all talking about it afterwards. It was just absolutely incredible. And one of the examples you gave was about the iceberg and actually getting to know what's happening below the surface. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you. Just when someone comes into a service, all you see in the beginning is that little bit sticking above the water. And it's really easy to judge or to assume you know what is coming just by looking at what's above the water. But in reality, excuse me, what drives the whole thing from addiction to behaviour to everything is everything below the surface. And that's what is really important to get to. And without that communication and kindness and conversation, you'll never get below the surface. You only ever just chip away at the top. And that's really no way to effectively control what's driving addiction or behaviour.
And the other example you were speaking about, which is another great analogy, was talking about base camp and having some Sherpas to get up to the summit. And what does that look like, in your opinion?
Well, to me, the journey of addiction, of sobriety, is like climbing a mountain. When you stand at the bottom and you look at the top of Mount Everest, you can't see the top, it looks scary. But if you've got some Sherpas with you, your caseworkers, your psychologists, your doctors, they can help you with that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And you can climb little bit by little bit, and then as you incrementally get to the top, you realise you've got the tools to anchor your tent at base camp and work with your Sherpas on the next little bit of your journey. And before you know it, you are at the top, breathing that clean air and have a clean view of what's going on. And you look back at how far up the mountain you've come, and it can be quite inspiring. But without that help around you and people to give you that little nudge when you fall, or those storms come in and you might get washed away, without that help, you just wouldn't get there.
It's a great analogy, isn't it? It's just amazing. When Matt was explaining that to the new grads, like our jaws just hit the floor really about it. But I think one of the things Matt also said was about those strong tent pegs, about anchoring that. So why is that important, having some strong tent pegs?
Well, you know, if your tent's not anchored correctly, you don't have a good solid foundation. So the tools that you're given along the way, which I look at like tent pegs, prevent those storms that roll in from blowing your way and start back down at the bottom of the mountain again. You've got to have the tools you need to get through those storms, and some of them can be quite hairy. You know, it's really easy to fall back into old patterns of behaviour, and without those tools to get you through that, you'll find yourself back at the beginning.
Yeah, it's so important that having that partnership approach, and I think it's also really what we talk about, the first 15 steps inside healthcare, and that when you walk in, you know, we are treating people like humans. We don't actually know sometimes what's going on in people's lives, even just getting to an appointment. Sometimes, you know, they can miss the bus, they're relying on other people to, you know, drop them off, and there's all sorts of complexities. So just that warmth, you know, that person who smiles when you come through the door. You know yourself when you walk into somewhere new, you're sort of scanning the room for where's my people, where's that friendly face, where's that person that I know I can go and ask a question to and I will feel really supported. And I think what I always say is that, you know, for healthcare teams, they've got the medical science, the cutting edge technology and the research, but the other half of the story are the consumers, the people with the lived experience who are using the service. And when we're developing models of care, it's so important to incorporate the lived experience because the feedback is so rich. And it's then very much a partnership approach to co-design, and we do it together. That's what today's about, all of us, isn't it? Right across the system, it's about all of us partnering together. And Angelo, you've done some amazing things that we've been partnering on lately, and one of the things was you were telling me about some of your new treatment plans and looking at some of the language that you've been using.
I think partnering with people like Matthew is very, very important, from a treatment plan to a treatment agreement, from our waiting rooms. Each of us have a specific lens that is different from our consumers. And whether it's teaching our staff how to have meaningful conversations, that was mentioned in the previous panel, it's so important that we teach our staff about the iceberg metaphor, that we understand what's below the surface, not just above the surface. And the language in which we use our written language, our written pamphlets, our treatment agreements. I remember when I started in health, there was no consumer partnerships, or very little. We would write treatment agreements from the perspective of staff. And over time, we've learned that it's not about us staff, it's actually about our consumers trying to understand a treatment agreement or a piece of paper or a treatment plan in front of them. And I think some of the projects that we're working on at the moment, and Matthew mentioned it really well, is the opportunity to give the voice to our clients. And whether that's through a client barbecue or whether that's for a What Matters to You Day, I think we're learning that this is an absolute essential part of our health system. And it can give you strategies from as small but meaningful as opening the blinds in a waiting room, putting plants in waiting rooms. It could be as simple as some of the initiatives that we've been working on recently is to evaluate our parking around our facilities. Without talking to clients, we would have never known that our disability parking is inadequate, that we require consumers with wheelchairs to essentially go paths around our buildings which are not adequate for them. We would have known that without giving a voice. So I think it's essentially important. I think key points is that we learn and we become aware of practices that teach us how to go behind and below the surface. Trauma-informed care is an essential part of a healthcare system that is so multicultural like we have here at Western Sydney, and providing those models of care that teach our staff how to be trauma-informed, patient-centred, are really, really important parts of our healthcare system and any model of care in which we're developing into the future.
And I think that's the thing, the tent pegs, when they're anchored by trust and respect and connection and feeling like you belong, they go a long way. And I think the other thing that we've been trying to promote, I guess, is some, what I call lots of on-ramps and entry points for consumers to feedback, that we need lots of different variations. And that's why things like the What Matters to You Day, providing those informal conversations or informal opportunities just to have a one-on-one conversation that you may not ordinarily have, has been really rich in the feedback, and as we said, doing the 1%ers that sometimes don't cost us any money but they have the biggest impact in care. So we'll finish up today, and we'll just, one of the things we wanted to, I guess, is a bit of a call to action about the tent pegs. And if you just wanted to go back around, it was maybe some of the things that provides connection when we do have those good tent pegs in place.
Well, for me, my psychologist was huge in assisting me with things like mindfulness and different activities like that you can do to ground yourself and hang on. It's also important to have somebody reliable you can speak to when you feel like you're getting off track a little bit. For me, education, I went out, I did my certificate for my diploma in AOD, my diploma in mental health, excuse me, and I just sunk myself into education, into study, and it was a huge part of, gave me something else to do. If you increase those connections within your community, you reduce your addictions, and you know, some people it's work, some people it's study, some people it's volunteer, some people, you just find something, a niche for yourself, and sink yourself into it. And that, I don't know, that addictive part of me got me into study. I just went for it. I just studied. Didn't have a day off, you know, all my assignments were in a week early, and I got right into it. But that replaced everything else that I was doing beforehand, which is really hard to find ways to fill your day that you have done with a completely different routine every day for over 10 years or so, in some cases, my case. It's really hard to break old habits, so yeah.
I'm just thinking about some of the tools in health literacy. We know that 50% of our population are born overseas and that health literacy is a struggle. We do assume sometimes that people speak English well. We know that there are, you know, pockets where there's illiteracy in our community, and we really do need to look at the tools that we can use to assist people in that way. Just thinking of two tent pegs that we could use as clinicians clinicians. One is shared decision making, and that's really speaking in the patient's language in a way that they can understand, a way that they can action. We provide them a range of options for their health care in our discussions with them. We don't assume that they know what we're talking about. And then we check in with them about their understanding. So in fact, have they heard what we've told them, or does it differ a little? And it's about checking backwards and forwards with that patient just to check in that they're truly understanding what we're trying to do and the support that we're trying to give them. So I think A, having the awareness, but B, using some of those tools can really make a difference and a real true connection with our patients.
I think true connection is the fundamental part of well-being, and Matthew sort of sums it up really well, is that from an addiction perspective, connection is the opposite of addiction. Developing true meaning connections, whether it be through education, spirituality, connections with oneself as well. They go a long way in improving the well-being of the community, the well-being of individuals and families. So some of the ways that we can improve the connections is, one of the most important ways is through our own well-being as health workers. To have true connections, we need to have good well-being. That enables us to be aware of our environment. It enables us to have a look and take time out to go below the surface for our consumers. Things like supervision, education, but also checking in with yourself about your own well-being. And probably, from my perspective, the most fundamental aspect of connection. And the second one is connection with our consumers to what we're doing. So giving them opportunities and voices. And I think Alicia mentioned the importance of respecting the differences with our consumers, giving them plenty of opportunities, giving them plenty of sources of opportunities, whether it's a questionnaire, whether it's a text message, whether it's barbecues, whether it's just talking to them and asking them the question, how was your experience today and what could we do better to improve that experience? I think those are two important tent pegs for connection.
I think for me the two tent pegs is really about partnership and co-design. I know every time I speak to Matt, Dana and Angelo, it's always a positive experience, and I think when you do partner together from a consumer and a staff perspective, there's so many opportunities and it opens up so many other conversations that you wouldn't ordinarily have. So I guess that's what we'd all like to encourage you to do today, is go away and think about, use Matt's great analogies of the iceberg and the Sherpas and the tent pegs, and what can we do differently and better, and that's what we'd like you to consider further. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, really appreciate it. It is now time for recess now. And we'll be breaking for about 15 minutes, so you can head out. There'll be refreshments out there, tea, coffee, muffins, and halal, they are halal, vegan and vegetarian options as well. If we can return back here at 11:05 a.m, there will be a performance afterwards. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. We have a wonderful performance about to start. So I hope everyone is feeling refreshed and prepared for our final session this morning. Next up, we have a theatre performance titled Rich Cultures Should Have Rich Relationships. Get ready to be moved and inspired by the powerful performances of Love, Light, Hope and the youth musical piece as we kick off the Rich Cultures Should Have Rich Relationships project, a community-led DV prevention initiative, co-designed with the subcontinent and Sudanese communities in Western Sydney. These performances aim to challenge traditional attitudes towards women, recognise the role of bystanders and inspire us all to take a stand against domestic violence. Now, to give it a bit of context before I introduce this performance, I'm going to invite Dipti. She will say a few words. Give Dipti a round of applause, of course.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much for your time and presence here, and it's absolute kindness that's being multiplied just watching you. To give you a background, what you see here is just a glimpse of the work we've done alongside our communities. Communities have been central, and it's their work. In fact, the play and the piece that the young people are going to be put together are discussions with over 500 community members in Western Sydney. The strength has always been putting them ahead of us. They own it, and they lead it. And what we've been able to do is focus on the richness. We said rich cultures should have rich relationships, and the cultures we represent have goodness in them already. We do not need to impose anything. We need to build from where we are. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're empowered to perpetuate kindness. So I'll hand it over to the group, and take your seats and start thinking.
Multicultural Health Services team and performers to the stage and join together in promoting culture of respect and equality. Give them a round of applause.
Neha, where are you from? Me? Priya. What about you?
I'm Asha. By the way, your hair color looks really nice. Which salon is this?
Thank you. My hairstylist tried this new color with some highlights. I wasn't too sure about it before, but now I really like it.
Oh, which salon is this?
Oh, Choice Stylist in Granville.
Oh, would you girls like to have a coffee?
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me. Could I please get a chai latte?
And cappuccino for me, please.
I'm okay with just an espresso, thank you. Wait. Sorry. Could I also have some chocolate sprinkled on it? Thank you. Neha, there's something on your face.
It's nothing. It's been there for ages. It won't go away. Perhaps my highlighter that covers has faded. Wow, what a beautiful earring, Priya. Wait, one earring? What happened to the other one?
Can't tell you that. My ear got slit. It was ages ago. And what's with that finger, Asha?
Oh, this happened years ago. It was extremely painful. I had to get 3 operations to get it fixed. The nerves were damaged, and it still feels really numb. Our fights, they got escalated from verbal abuse to threats to physical violence. It's my ex. He sliced the top of the finger. Even after all those operations, I still get these shooting pains now and then. But anyways, today, it all feels good. So, what do you do?
I work at the bank, and you?
I'm a high school teacher.
What about you, Priya? I'm into event management. You know all these Indian events that you see here? I run those with a team of people and my sons.
Really? You don't look so old to have adult sons.
Yeah, how old are they?
Oh, well, Josh is 23 and Jay is 21. Yeah. I left my husband 12 years ago. I just couldn't take it anymore. You know, I happened to be the suitable bride chosen by his family. They wanted a fair, tall, good-looking, educated girl. Both good in Indian values as well as Western values. Jiski baby gari, uska bhi bada naam hai. Jiski baby gari, hey. I was doing my master's degree in physics when I got married to him and came here. He was a doctor. But somehow we just couldn't get along. Or maybe I was not the right one in his opinion. We would just keep it. We would just end up fighting over it. He had 4 sisters, and he decided to sponsor 3 of them. And they came one by one to live with us. Being single and not married, they wouldn't help me in any of the housework. And I had Josh and Jay one after the other.
That must be such a busy household.
Oh, yes, it was. And I was a gaonwali in his opinion. I didn't know how to cook, and I didn't know how to look after the house. Why are all the dishes lying all over the kitchen, he would say. And he hated the color yellow on me.
What? But you're wearing the color yellow, and it looks so good on you.
Oh, well, he didn't like the way I spoke in parties, how I was with his friends. He would keep crushing my confidence. Anyway, I live on my own now, and I decide what to wear and what to speak. It has taken me years to get my confidence back. Anyway, I'm the CEO of my company now. I must have had the entrepreneurship in me.
You must have been rich being a doctor. If you don't mind me asking, did he compensate you when he divorced you?
No, the bastard. It took me years to get what I deserved. You know, when we were together, he was telling me he's earning $160,000 from the medical practice. And when we separated, he told the family court that he's bankrupt. He not only broke my confidence, he broke all the 7 vows we made when we got married.
Did you manage to get anything at all?
Yes. After 7 years of haggling, I did get some money. The money was more for my sons and the security it provided. And, when we were together, he used to suspect me with his friends. Me with 2 little children below the age of 4. Meanwhile, he had befriended a lady doctor and run away to live with her. And I picked up all the courage and did these courses, and I started this business. But his sisters, they would always take his side, and it made it so difficult for me to connect with him. After all, he was the father of my sons.
It is difficult, especially when the kids are involved.
Yeah. Josh was 11 and Jay was 9. And they had suddenly grown up. They couldn't see me in pain anymore. Anyway, it's all good now. One is a chartered accountant, and one helps me in my business. I'm so proud of them. Oh, and guess what? My ex, he lives with another woman, having left the lady doctor as well.
Aren't our stories similar? And the lives we went through? Control, control, control of every manner. Very toxic ones in relationships. Emotionally, mentally, physically, financially. We come out like total wrecks. Anyways, so what's this Pinky story, Ashley?
Well, similar. It was actually hell from day one. In India, on the reception night itself, his father threatened that if they don't get the gold bangles as promised, they wouldn't turn up for the wedding. Dowry. Anyhow, my father managed and borrowed money from the relatives and got the gold bangles as promised. He had already exhausted his entire savings in the lavish wedding that my husband's family wanted. And not only that, his mum and sister wanted all sort of expensive stuff from me. They not only opened my suitcase in front of everyone, but they started mocking me for the things that I've got from India. Him and his family members were total suckers.
Honestly, gosh, what a greedy household.
Not only this, my husband lied about his job over here. He was not some big shot he pretended to be. Anyhow, I accepted it, calling it my fate. But their demands wouldn't end. I thought I was always walking on eggshells around them. And my great mother-in-law would add to the misery. Bolti thi. Maise rotiyan toti.
Yes, that's another accusation laid on us, that we're lazy.
Munni badnaam hui, darling tere liye. Munni badnaam hui, darling tere liye. Munni badnaam hui, la la la.
Well, I just don't want to remember how it all was. There were fights, too many fights. Been to a marriage counselor a number of times, as I couldn't fulfill their demands. Or neither could ask my old father, as he was broke already. Dad ended up being critically ill, and I wanted to go see him. A few weeks after he passed away. Because of that ruthless man, I couldn't even see him or attend his funeral. A few weeks after, he hit me again. And an old lady across the street took me in. She called the police straight away. And that was the day I decided to leave him forever. She became my Aussie mum, and I took care of her till her last breath. She trained and guided me to become a trained teacher as well. And you know what? She left her house to me when she passed away. Neha, why are you crying?
I'm only by name, Neha. My father used to say, wherever I'll go, I'll spread love. Because that's what my name means. But when I got married, it was the complete opposite of all that I was in my parents' eyes.
बाबुल की दुआएं लेती जा जा तुझको सखी संसार मिले.
The princess now brought down to earth.
He would drink often and hit me. If he lost his job, it was my fault. If he couldn't pay the bills, it was my fault. I was bad news. He would force me to sign the loan papers and my whole salary would go into mortgage. All because he was jobless. And on top of that, he started to accuse me of having affairs. Just a figment of his imagination. And if I tried to deny his lies, he would drag me by my hair. He always blamed me. Anyways, he was a mama's boy. He was constantly on the phone to his mum in India. Then she started to suggest other girls for him to get married to. I couldn't understand how he could marry another girl when here I was his legal wife. It didn't make any sense.
Well, one for the dowry, another for the matchmaking. Can you believe that?
Oh yes, it is believable, Asha.
Oh, then I heard he was married to another girl and was back in Sydney with a new wife. Apparently he lives somewhere around here. I don't really know where, but to be honest, I don't really care. Unfortunately, this blue scar, it's a constant reminder of all that I've been through. It won't go away, no matter how much I try. But thank God he left me, because only then I've been able to make something out of my life. With the help of a lawyer, I was able to prove that the house is mine, since all the payments came out of my salary. Thank God I could prove that from my bank statements. You know, I've lost all hope that there were still men out there who respected women and loved them. But now I have a boyfriend, Chris, and he brought me back to life. You know, it took me a long time to be the Neha that my parents wanted me to be. But now, finally, I am that old Neha again.
And I'm Asha. Oh, the name I was given. And what about Priya? The love of you all. Look, we must meet again. There's so much to share. Oh, what is your number? 0402 799 519. What is your number?
04123 93163.
My number is 0434 611 970.
My number is 0411.
That was fantastic. Wonderful. That was another powerful performance. Hopefully everyone's still alive here. Luckily we're in a hospital. Is everyone okay at the front there? Just a few eyes taken out, but that's okay. We're in a hospital just as well. But that was a very powerful performance. Give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. Are you going to... So I'd like to introduce Western Sydney Local Health District.
The next piece on the kids. We're not going to go away so easily.
That's right. There's another powerful performance, yes?
Just have another piece while we just get the stage ready. Like we heard, we move forward, and young people are a central part of life and what we do. And they are a hope, not only universally in Australia, in New South Wales, and especially in Western Sydney. We have a wonderful group of talented young people who are also part of the rich culture, should have rich relationship projects. And they're going to give us some lessons on how, as adults, and how we can do family better. So I invite them, and as they walk down, I just want to summarize some of the learnings that we've carried away from this project. Cultures we work with, live alongside, are rich. We've learned lessons in respect. We've learned lessons in realness and resilience, and we've learned to be constantly reflective. Thank you, folks. I'll hand the mic over to them.
Do you need these boxes? Do you need these boxes?
No.
Okay, yeah.
How's everyone this morning? All good? Yes? Lots of wonderful and powerful performances this morning. And do you need a hand or you're all good? I asked in the last minute, so sorry. Of course, typical me. Oh, he's nearly done the job and I've asked in the last minute. Not a problem. How you all feeling? All good? You nervous? No. Oh, there we go. That's good. That's good. Neither am I, so that's good. I'm excited, actually. I'm super excited. All right.
Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we perform our piece, we'd like to extend our many thanks to New South Wales Multicultural Health Western Sydney Local Health District, Dipti, Zachariah and Nada Mugo for making this possible for the youth to be here today and deliver an original piece written by us, expressing the generation of children stuck or lost between two cultures and encouraging us to overcome the struggles that come with it. Regardless of the pain, hardships and obstacles, we still must persevere forward and make a change for ourselves and for all of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our Sudanese community. Thank you so much. Amazing and wonderful performance. I'd now like to call upon... Wonderful. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. I'm Monica Latanic from Multicultural Health. Thank you very, very much for your time and giving us an opportunity to share the work of the communities. Two wonderful pieces of creative taken on a very, very difficult topics. We're so grateful to the community and the funding body that actually gave us a chance to work with communities on this difficult topic. It was a 3-year-long project and we produced 12 resources. We only had opportunity to show you 2. I would like really at least all of them. They will be available on the website for everyone to use, for communities and health providers. They are for not only for the community, but they can also help with our work with our patients and communities to prevent domestic violence. So very, very big thank you to our performers and communities for working with us on this very difficult topic and taking the lead in preventing domestic violence and family violence in their communities. So let me quickly to list all the resources that you can find or you will be able to find on Western Sydney LHD Multicultural Health Resource Hub page. We have a community voices reflected through identified healthy relationship behaviors for both communities, for Sudanese and for subcontinent. And we have 2 nature and nurture gender equity training modules, also in Punjabi, English, and in Arabic. We also develop a number of digital resources, 2 short films on intergenerational conflict for the Sudanese community and gender equity in partnership with Nipi and Blue Mountains LHD. We also have Equity Wheel for Sudanese community in Arabic and English, and Equity Wheel for Punjabi community, also in Punjabi and English. And Punjabi community insight and reflection shared by the community and domestic and family violence, which can be also watched as a digital resource. We also produce not only this theatre piece that you were able to watch and the song, but another piece that was performed in Punjabi, which was also theatre, called Magdi. All of these pieces were designed by the community. They were written by the communities and were performed by the communities. And I would like to thank them very, very much for taking us on their journey and letting us in and sharing their worries about families and relationships and telling us how it can be improved. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for providing us with all that vital information. I really appreciate it. Finally, I'd like to introduce Western Sydney Local Health District Organisational Development and Learning Team, who will be talking to us about our place, our people, with a focus on how we support staff to use the power of community at work as part of the partnership in delivering and support care. So please welcome to the team and Hayley, of course.
Hi, don't panic. I'm not going to play for you. Okay, so for those that don't know me, my name is Hayley Cadman and I'm joined here today by my colleagues Eve Foxman and John Dixon. We are a part of our organisational development team, which sits within organisational development and learning and people and culture. So we often hear Graham talk about we are a community of an employer of families. So I'd just like to call out that your OD team is second and third generation employees within the district, and John's grandfather was one of the first people in actually setting up our computer systems within the district. So I think that's a good full circle moment for us. Yeah. So we are here, and for those also that don't know, I'm a classically trained musician. Music is my life, it's my passion, and I'm going to actually beg your indulgence, and I'm going to take us all on an orchestral journey of music, and we are going to form the Western Sydney LHD Orchestra. Don't panic. Thank you. And this will be a brilliant end for us in elevating our human experience event for this morning, which will kick off our week across the district. So congratulations and welcome. We shall now be known as WSLHD Orchestra, and we are going to be making our way up and down. We're having a traditional symphony setup. What does that mean? It's just 4 job families. So I'm a clarinetist, or I'm a physio. I sit within a job family of the woodwind, and I report or I work within an orchestra. So John and Eve are going to start handing out paddles, and you're going to be our instrumentalists. Lucky you who can get one. So at the back for a traditional symphony, we've got percussion, which are our timpanis, bass drums, xylophones, etc. All the fun people who run around at the back. We've then got brass here, which are French horns. I'm feeling some trumpets, and trombones are usually to the right with the heavier brass. Woodwind, which is me, will be here, and then strings normally form the front sort of semicircle, and you have violins, violas front and centre, and then the cellos and double bass. And I might even throw a harp in because we're traditional symphony. So music is a universal language, much like our healthcare and how we work within our Western Sydney community. Everyone has access to music in whatever form that is for you, and it takes many different forms within our lives, much like our health journey. So our orchestral journey today starts with us thinking about what makes a great orchestra. Perhaps there are similarities in how we can support our power of community and all of us, our team within our workplace. How do we come together to facilitate the power of change? How we empower all involved in those that listen to our creation, those that receive our care, provide our care across the district, and individuals working as part of localised groups, creating a symphony as a collective sound. So we're just going to play a little video. Okay, so that was called Tuning Up. It's actually a piece of music, but I'm going to use it for another sort of point, and that is, what are we actually listening to? Did you feel anything? Is it like a piece of music that's traditional? Maybe not. What were they all doing? So you've got some people taking photos of each other. Everyone was playing their own instrument, their own way. They weren't playing as a collective group. They were acting as individuals. They're looking after themselves, after their own instrument. The timpani guy was even polishing as they'd started. And it's, even if you've heard an orchestra sound tuning up, it does sound a bit like that. And that's what the purpose of showing you that piece of music for. So when we're actually training as an orchestral musician, and I'm just going to take you on my own journey, there are 6 key themes that we need to have as our principles for a successful orchestra to work as a whole, and I'm encouraging you all to adopt that. It sets the benchmark, our core values, if you will, and builds on our foundation as a whole. The first is blending. We need to blend. So this is our desire to create one sound, our one team, our one community with our fellow musicians. We strive to blend as musicians. We match, we're working with our neighbours. We've got multiple instruments playing as one, and we become unified. The second is our work ethic and attention to detail. We have a group-first mentality. So whilst I might be a clarinetist in the woodwind, we are part of that group first, which is our WSLHD orchestra. We get to rehearsal on time. I'm hearing Mr. Beasley in the back of my head right now. We come prepared, music, pencil, eraser, our stand. We commit to private practice, and we over-practice our difficult passages. We are attentive when other sections are working on their piece with their conductor. And we also count and look for rests. We take conductor notes. We keep an eye. We are looking at where the conductor's sailing our ship. What are our first instrumentalists for our team? How are they guiding us? The third, intonation. So this is where you have a good ear, you've got excellent technique. As musicians, we don't see notes, we don't just see notes, we hear notes as well. And so I would encourage you is how is your open thinking when you go back out into your worlds today, whether they're workplaces or as consumers. Sight reading is number 4. We have the capability as musicians to transpose. We have to move, we have to change. How flexible are we in our approach? 5, timing and dynamics. We have the capability to express music with respect to how it's written, but we also are dynamic with moving with new vision, new eyes and expectations when interpretations are made. So that's not saying we're going to rewrite Beethoven, but there may be the conductor might want to play a certain section a bit quieter than another conductor may want to do with the piece of music. And 6, always practice humility. It's not to say that musicians are humble, so it's competitive to get into the first chair. It is very challenging, and the number one thing you have to have is resilience to be able to do the job. For me, this is about what I was hearing growing up and learning to be a musician. It was about being open. I was committed to learn from others. I was hearing and listening to suggestions. It was my why, it was our purpose as an orchestra. So to be this and successful, every orchestra also has its supports. So for us, it's foundations and infrastructure, our corporate services at work, our champions, our admin heroes, HR, finance support, corporate, clinical governance, for example. So we have our place, our people, and our culture in what the department does, focuses on our community, who we are most valued asset, our people. We want to support you as a team to deliver high-performing health systems and meet our community's needs. We focus on our employee life cycle to facilitate our main program of culture and safety works across the district, and our program of work aims to contribute this by attracting and retaining the best quality people, providing learning and development opportunities, offering clear career pathways, and ensuring positive workplace culture by embracing diversity at all levels. So, with the 6 key themes in place, our Western Sydney LHD Orchestra has the capability to build a powerful community. Our WSLHD orchestral experience focuses on the all of us and the power of that community, where we work in partnership to deliver that human-centred healthcare. It's all-inclusive, and which we can all build an incredible crescendo, which might sound like this one.
that's my cue to come in. Well, how about that? Give it a round of applause for Hayley. So it's time to end our session today. It has been powerful and thought-provoking. I would like to thank our performers, our participants for their work today and acknowledge the emotional impact. I'd now like to call on to the stage a final round of applause and bring up our performers to receive gifts of gratitude. And for those, yes, we've got lots of lovely gifts. Happy birthday. Performers? Yes. Oh, okay, wonderful. We'll just hold the gifts aside then. We'll promise we'll give them out. I promise you we'll give them out to all our performers. Thank you so much. And for those heading up to the Nalawala Burundi featuring Royston, Michael Laughlin, Marley Silva, the Giants and the Swifts, it is the opposite entrance at 10 outside on that level. And for those heading to All of Us workshop, it will be on level 1 in the Westmead Conference Centre. I'm your host, Daniel Doody. I will be completing my celebrant course by the end of the year, so if you know of anyone getting married, I have plenty of bookings in December. Hit me up, and I'm also looking for more followers for Instagram. That's me done. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and have a good morning. Thank you.